Looking to the 12 branches, the 12 meridians, we discussed, I think it was last time or the time before, the related trigrams. We didn't discuss so much the meaning of these trigrams and what it means for clinic and what it means for you, or for all of us. It starts with the unlike chi of these two meridians or branches, the gallbladder and the heart, returning an encounter. Returning of yang and the encounter is the meeting together. These two belong to each other. They describe movement. They describe change. They describe transformation. This trigram is the thunder. The thunder is related to the foot. The movement of the foot is as the thunder, is a new beginning. Is going forward, is meeting, encountering, returning. Any movement starts with the thunder. So when we walk, use our feet. When you stand, it's not the thunder. As we did the exercise before, you stand, that's not the thunder. The moment you stand on one foot and you move forward, you move your foot forward. Where does it come from? Yes, physically it comes from here. Physically there's something happening in the back and the hip. But the real movement comes from the yang moving forward. The thunder comes from the ground. It doesn't come from, of course it comes from above, but you feel it in the floor. So the thunder is starting here, in the foot which stands. And from here is the power to move forward. So it is this move, this standing leg, where is the force and the power accumulating, and it releases by going forward. Yeah? So the thunder describes this yang activity in your, let's say, the left foot coming up, and by releasing it, you move the right foot forward. So when we think about gallbladder and heart, gallbladder being the meridian on your side, allowing you to make rotation, that's needed for going forward, for the thunder, for meeting. Like the heart energy has to do with meeting based on the yin line. As with the thunder, and you know that the gallbladder, the lower part of the gallbladder hexagram is the thunder, is this accumulation of energy in your left leg and allowing the right leg to go forward. This allowing is the yin, is the heart. So it is the combination of this yang within the left and allowing the right foot to do this through the rotation, through the openness and responding and receiving quality of the heart. So these two combined allow the movement forward, or initiate the movement forward. Liver and small intestine. The hexagrams are related to liver and small intestine, is approaching and retreating. Approaching and retreating. This movement that you are able to go forward and go backward. This movement is the movement of breathing, of respiration, inward, outward, of chi, breath. So the liver and the small intestine are important for the breathing of chi, the breathing of blood, the breathing of fluids, the movement of these qualities. So moving forward from gallbladder and heart, the steps, the next thing is, how far do I go? Do I approach or do I retreat? Do I go forward or do I go backward? And you can't go always forward. Sometimes you need to go backwards. And it is a rhythm. And the whole body is filled with chi, blood and fluids, and has that rhythm. Like we are awake and we sleep. We think and we feel. We combine all these aspects of ourselves through breathing, through the movement and change of breath, of chi, blood and fluids. Yes. The lung and the bladder advance and stand still. Advance, again, some people translate the hexagram related to the lungs as peace. But it is also the balance of knowing that within advance there is a possibility of standstill. And within standstill is the possibility of advance. I read to you, when we discussed these hexagrams of the trigrams, I read to you this sentence. P.G. Tai Lai. Out of the depth of misfortune comes bliss. At the end of hindrance appears advance. So this combination is different. This is related to humanity. You remember this relationship between lung and bladder is the human relationship, the human evolution. It's the axis of humanity. Of course, it has to do with conflict, it has to do with opposition, it has to do with confrontation. Humanity deals with that, has to deal with that. It is the opposition of yin and yang, of heaven and earth, outside, inside, you and me, we and others. The lung hexagram is 3 yang lines on the bottom, 3 yin lines on the top. So you have heaven on earth and earth in heaven. That is a movement, the possibility for a movement. While in the bladder, the lower trigram is 3 yin lines and the top trigram is 3 yang lines. So there's heaven above and earth below. So there is a meeting but no movement. When heaven is below and earth is up, that's a potency for movement, a potentiality for movement. While when heaven is up and earth, they can maybe meet, but only by standing still. So both aspects we have to deal with in society, in individuality, in how we meet, how we move forward, how we breathe. We need to understand that sometimes after breathing in, you stand still. Or when you breathe out, you need to stand still. This is based on the abysmal, on the water, on the depth, on confrontation with your fear, confrontation with your loneliness, confrontation with insecurity. We don't like that so much. We like to go forward constantly and not standing still. We like to be attached to people, we like to project our emotions to others and fight them, all kind of things. But the core of the task of humanity is understanding that abysmal, your own insecurity, your own loneliness, your own fears, to understand yourself. This trigram is related to water, which is in the north, you could say, but it's also in the lower part of your body. It's your foundation. So our confrontation with the world based on these two finds a kind of result in how we deal with the world in the lower jiao. In the lower jiao. The region of the water. I think that's the reason why many Eastern meditations, Qigong, Tai Chi and so on, they start with the legs and the lower jiao, that you're able to stand. Standing itself, standing still, means that you make contact with your lower jiao. Kidney and colon, great strength and watching. Hexagrams, great strength and watching when you translate it. Also opposites. Great strength, a lot of power, and watching what is actually happening. It's also kind of stand still and making contact with the reasons or the understanding of the subtle world behind things. So there, on one hand, there's great strength. When we did the exercise, you stood on one foot and you felt it needs great strength. It's great strength. You feel the whole feet, your toes. There's great strength in your leg. Yeah? With accumulation in the foot. That's large intestine. The watching, that you are able to feel what actually is going on there. Where does it come from? Where does the power come from? Does it come from our willpower or does it come from something else? The capability of understanding what you are, where you come from, what is the spirit, what is your soul, what is your body, where is your attention. All these things start with watching. Qigong, Tai Chi starts with watching, attention. And great strength comes from that. The trigram here is the trigram fire. The trigram fire is more in the upper jiao, in the heart. So, when you think about lung and bladder, the lung energy, the bladder energy, you stand. It is the bladder energy is the result of many other energies coming together in the bladder energy while we stand. The lung energy is in your hands. It is the origin is here in the earth, the beginning of the lung meridian, and this is the way we stand. The core of this one, the foundation, is in the lower jiao, as I said. So standing like a tree is founded in here. While kidney and colon is the power by how we stand. Is that we are able to stand on our feet, that we have the strength of the feet, the strength of the longitudinal arch as we exercised it, the strength of the top of the foot, that we can stand on our feet. So this is lung and bladder. Lung, bladder, standing. Standing on your feet is kidney and colon. But the core of kidney and colon is in the heart, is in the fire. So standing itself comes from the upper jaw, that you feel your heart is related to that. But when the standing is okay, it will feed the heart. When the lung chi and the way you act in the world, the way you are in the world, lung and bladder. So this position of standing like a tree enhances the quality of the heart and the kidney. From kidney colon, upper jaw, lung and bladder, lower jaw. So it combines these two energies, yeah, like heaven and earth communicating. And within that we breathe. So while standing and breathing, we connect these two energies. But it's not only standing, it's also how you are in the world, lung and bladder. How you stand for yourself, how you watch yourself, how you know yourself, how you act with great strength based on this watching. So these four have a lot to do with humanity, how we are as people. This is the start of movement forward, using the chi and the rhythm of chi. And these four have much more to do how we actually are, and what is our responsibility to ourselves and the responsibility to the world around. Stomach and pericard. Stomach, the breakthrough, the 5 yang lines and 1 yin line at the top. Resolution, to be resolute, that we don't argue, this is what we do. Without being cruel, without being harming others, but some things are inevitable. How do you say that? Inevitable. Inevitable. That's it. Inevitable. Yeah, that's stomach. Inevitable. That's the word. Yeah. But it goes together with pericard. Pericard is splitting apart. Decline, erosion. That is sometimes needed to let go, to allow a new cycle to begin. So, if this is the beginning of movement, and movement of chi and blood and fluids, and this is the result in humanity, in us as human beings, what does this mean? This breakthrough and decline is the possibility to do all these things in attunement with the evolution of consciousness. What does it mean? And this is the difficult part. This is why when we discuss stomach, it's so difficult to explain. But our consciousness, when we think about our consciousness, the content, what's inside consciousness is different for all of us. When we think about it, it's different for all of us.
in Dutch there are two translations. En die bewustzijn of geweten.
Bewustzijn. Being conscious is geweten. Yeah? Consciousness is different. So, the consciousness we have, the content of our consciousness is, for all of us, is different. We all have our own consciousness, individual consciousness. On the surface, yeah? On the surface we are all different. But hopefully you start to understand that this energy of consciousness, if you see consciousness as a circle, standing like this, it's a circle. Where is the center of this circle? And in the center of this circle we actually are all the same. The consciousness we share is something which is infinite. It's not, has no beginning nor end. Our individual consciousness has an end. When we die, that ends. Everything we have, all the things we desire, all the things we... That is not what is meant with breakthrough and decline. Breakthrough and decline has to do with the normal evolution of this consciousness we share, which is infinite, which is based on love. So when we look into nature and we see that a plant dies, we know it comes back. Probably it will come back, or other plants come back. Nature has a beginning, a flourishment, a flourishing, decline, and then in the winter there's a seed and there's a new beginning. We are aware of that. We don't grieve so much when these things happen. But when it happens to us, we grieve. When people die, we grieve. When the plant dies, we don't. We know it comes back. Yeah? We know we'll see it again. It's very strange that in nature we understand that the normal evolution of consciousness, we can see it every day. There's breakthrough, like in the springtime, and there's decline in autumn. And they belong to each other. It's needed. It's needed for decline to get a breakthrough. And within ourselves we find it very difficult that things change, that things transform. So breakthrough, to be resolute, is not your own wish, your own desire. I want this, so I break the barrier. Or I retreat, I go back and let go. It is understanding the patterns of consciousness. Or patterns is not even the good word. The evolution of consciousness. How it reveals itself in nature. In us, we are also part of nature. So this is a natural process. So allowing the natural process, and therefore resolution is needed. It's like when a bird is in the nest and at a certain moment he starts to fly. And sometimes the mother kicks the bird out of the nest. You need to fly. That's a breakthrough. Yeah, that is the erosion of youth to become an adult. So you can fly. That's a natural process. With every breakthrough there is decline. These natural processes, to attune to natural process of the development or evolution of consciousness in nature, has to do with this. The trigram related is the mountain. The mountain is the stillness, is peace. Is the top of the mountain is in heaven, the bottom of the mountain is on the ground. So there is a good relationship between heaven and earth, but through peace, through stillness. As I said, I think it was yesterday, when we discussed a bit about Wu Wei, that is only possible, not only possible, that's the wrong way to write it, but it starts from being in the Yuan Shen, being in the yin of the Shen. Not feeling all the desires and the wantings and the striving forwards, but being in the yin of the Shen, the Yuan Shen, is to allow things to happen according to evolution. That comes through stillness and peace. Through meditation maybe, because this is the reason why this trigram often is related to meditation. Now when we did the exercise, we stood on left foot and we had the right foot forward and we moved forward. It's a breakthrough, and the letting go, the erosion, is the pericard. So you go forward, you break through the standing still, you stood still, put your foot there, you go forward. This is a breakthrough, you go forward. It's a natural process of going forward, has to do with letting go of the foot. And the last part is that you let go and then the foot stands here. Yeah? So the walking forward, which started with the large intestine, this is the end of the step, the breakthrough and the decline. And we come then to the relationship of spleen and three heater, yang, all yin, the initiating, the responding. And I said, as we have the lung and the bladder as the axis of humanity, the relationship of spleen and three heater is the axis of the universe, you could say, or the heavenly axis, or the cosmic axis of all yang and all yin. Every step, every step in the world, metaphorically or not metaphorically, every step in the world starts here, in the three heater and the spleen, in the initiating and the responding or receiving, in complete yang and complete yin. How do they meet? How do they merge? As we said, in the creation you have the yang of the father and the yin of the mother. They merge and they create a new Jing and a new Yuan Shen. So any creation starts with the merging of yin and yang. And from this, there is the new step, the new revival, the new returning of a new step. Yeah? Large intestine, going forward. Now, what does this have to do with what we discussed yesterday? Yesterday I said to you that the foot on the dorsal side has to do with large intestine. And I said the plantar part of the foot has to do with pericard. Now that is correct. But it is not only that, it's also the kidney and the Jing Qi. Because when you stand, the longitudinal arch is your kidney energy, is your Jing Qi. The longitudinal arch, does it touch the floor? Does it need the support of the floor? That's the quality of your Jing Qi. When there is a good arch, longitudinal arch, that says something about the Yuan Qi, the Jing Qi, your kidney Qi. Lung and bladder. How do we act in the world? The foundation, the inside is water. Yeah? Is how do we stand in this world? How is your Jing? Are we able to found ourselves on a proper Jing? Yeah? That's the foundation of lung and bladder. And the pericard has to do with the transfer arch. Yeah? Yeah? It has to do with how do we move in the world. Is it connected to our wishes or more connected to the universal aspect of consciousness? Is it our superficial consciousness, like we have all our desires and our professions and our fights and our relationships and our attachments and so on? Or is it based on something which is the normal evolution of consciousness? Yeah? So when we stood on one foot and we went forward, to be able to let go of that foot is dependent on this transversal axis, arch. Yeah? If that is flat, you have this flat feet on the front, then this is hurting often. This is painful often to let go. You want to stick to the floor. Yeah? So the power of it, the yin power of it, to allow it to let go. It has to do with the spreading of the toes. Are they together or they're so spread that it's difficult to let go? Or is there enough power, yin power, to let go? So the transversal or the transverse arch of the foot is related to pericard, while the longitudinal arch is related to your jing. And the top of your foot is how we stand and how we are able to have great strength in the foot, to have this power of the muscles and to release that to go forward with the other foot. Yeah. So when Dr. van Buren said to me, large intestine is the top of the foot, pericard is the plantar side of the foot with kidney. So where does that come from? Yeah? And you need all this to understand it, the depth of it. The depth of it. So when people have this flat feet or the spreading feet on the front, says something about their relationship here, lung and bladder, water, or their relationship to watching, or to be able to let go. Is their strength okay? Is there weakness? So how people stand says already a lot about the quality of these meridians.